It's the little things that make the biggest changes. I'm sorry, I almost said it with a straight face. What If continues, and yes, I have moved these reviews to the break room. Long story short, the view numbers they were getting were not worth me continuing to put them up in the main channel. But I am going to stick with doing episode by episode reviews, and if I have like a series summation at the end of that, that might end up in Council of Geeks. But that's we'll see. I'm not sure that this is a show that's going to have an overall thesis, or if it's just going to be a series of one-off larks. It could honestly still go either way at this point, especially now that the trailer for the next Spider-Man, No Way Home, has dropped, and it's clear we are dealing with multiverse stuff there as well. It is distinctly possible that What If is going to culminate in something, since basically everything Marvel-related is pushing towards multiverse directions right now. But at the same time, it's still distinctly possible that it's just giving us a glimpse of a bunch of different stuff that just feeds into the fact that multiverse is now a thing, and is just going to leave it at that. We don't know, but for right now, let's take a look at What If Earth's lost its mightiest heroes. So this one, despite it having massive shifts versus what happened in the films, feels oddly low-key compared to the previous one. I suppose it's because this kind of has a mystery aspect to it, where, you can see what's been changed, but you don't know why. So you're kind of left wondering, okay, what is the catalyst? What is causing this? And I say it's a mystery aspect. The thing is, it's not really built like a standard mystery where you have a shot at figuring this out. Not to say some people might not have. Some people might very well have caught it, but for how short it is, I don't think it's structured in a way that most people are gonna go, oh, I can put these clues together. It's more of a, oh, yeah, I guess that works. And I'll get to the answers on that in a little bit. Spoilers, by the way, I suppose. So it starts out, interestingly enough, with just recreating scenes that we know from things like Iron Man 2, Thor, The Incredible Hulk, but then the heroes end up dying. It's like, wait, what? A lot more voice impersonators in this one, because they bring in characters like Tony Stark and Natasha Romanoff, played by actors who have signed off and have retired from these parts. Unfortunately, this sounds mean, but unfortunately, they did get Mark Ruffalo in, and I knew this was going to be an issue. The instant he turned up and started talking, look, I would like Mark Ruffalo, I like him a lot, but he's a mumbly actor, and mumbling doesn't translate well to voice work unless you are a really good trained voice actor who knows how to bring a mumble aspect and still have it flow well and sound good to the ear. And Mark Ruffalo is just kind of a mumbler by nature, so when it's just his voice and you lose all the physicality of his performance and they're just trying to recreate it in animation, oh boy, it doesn't work. So this isn't like when I noted Sebastian Stan and Bucky Barnes in the first episode of What If, where that felt a little bit more like he just wasn't comfortable with the medium. It's not that Mark Ruffalo seems uncomfortable, it's just that his voice is just really ill-suited to this kind of performance and storytelling. I'm sorry, it is. Thankfully, he's not around too much, so I won't dwell on that. They get pretty solid impersonators, especially for Black Widow. They bring in Lake Bell, best known, at least to me, as Poison Ivy on the Harley Quinn animated series that's going on. So she's a good fit. That works really well. And they got in the important ones. We've got Tom Hiddleston as Loki. We've got Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. We've got Clark Gregg as Agent Coulson, which was nice. That was nice. As someone who bowed out on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the TV show, I still do enjoy, any hint of Coulson. I really do like Coulson a lot. So, watching things just start to go south, it's an odd mix because we keep jumping into scenarios we know, but then they go a different way. Normally, it'd be okay, we're going to start with scenarios we know, but then it's going to keep snowballing into wilder and wilder stuff. And it takes a while to get there because it's almost like it resets at the start of each scenario. So it's like, well, here's the diner scene from Iron Man 2, basically as we remembered it. Oh, he's dead. Oh, okay. Well, how's that going to affect? And here's the stuff with the hammer from Thor, basically as you remember it. Oh, okay, well, and he's dead. Oh, okay, so now how are we going to spiral off? And here's the confrontation from Incredible Hulk. We're just going to add Black Widow into the mix. Oh, okay, so it's like it keeps heading towards the divergence, but then rolling back a little, and then so like it's an odd pacing. I'm not sure it fails. It doesn't break it. It's just sort of weird to see play out. I don't think it starts to feel like a true proper what if until Loki shows up. And there's a lot of little details that sort of make it fun to pick at what must have been going on up to this point, because when Loki shows up, he mentions he's the rightful ruler of Jotunheim as well as Prince of Asgard. So that means that in Thor's absence, he did still find out about his lineage and all that. It's just he was then able to actually take some serious control and put his foot down, and things played out a little different, but still some stuff the same. And Tom Hiddleston coming back, that's good. That's good stuff. And I especially like the way that played out at the end, because I'm like, he given the opportunity is like, oh, I could just conquer this world, couldn't I? Why don't I do that while I'm here? I'm like, yeah, that tracks. And it does a good balance at the very end of giving us that situation where it's like, oh God, the heroes aren't here, we lost. But then reiterating, like, doesn't mean there's no hope. We still got Cap to thaw out. And Fury can and did call in Captain Marvel a heck of a lot sooner than he did in the MCU. So, you know what? Maybe there is hope. And again, I like that balance. I kind of like that they're finding ways to end these that aren't the misery porn that traditional what if comics can be sometimes, but also aren't so bright and shiny that you find yourself going, oh, I wish that was the main continuity. So I don't know why I did a voice like that, but I find the way that they balance it interesting. Did I just have ADHD brain and not notice the Watcher in the background of the first two episodes? Because I noticed him a lot in this, like his silhouette in the sky kind of thing, like at least twice. I don't remember seeing that, like in the body of the actual stories in the previous two. Was it there and I just wasn't paying enough attention? Which is distinctly possible. Let's be very, very clear about that. But it jumped out at me this time. I'm like, oh, you've been there the whole time, buddy? What's going on? Okay, so let's talk about the thing I kind of been dancing around a bit, which is the explanation and I guess twist, which is Ant-Man. Hank Pym is the villain. I will be really curious, and anyone in the comments can like share with me their reaction. Anyone who isn't familiar with Hank Pym from the comics, how this goes down for them. I wonder if it like feels jarring and often like, what the hell? Because speaking as someone who does know Hank Pym from the comics, this was kind of fun, because if you don't know, Hank Pym's kind of the worst. Like, there's a handful of classic Marvel superheroes who are honestly kind of terrible. Reed Richards is another one, if we're being completely honest, but Hank Pym's probably right up there. And he, like, to give you just a quick rundown of like a few of the things he's pulled over the years, he's had repeated mental cracks and breakdowns. He invented Ultron in the comics, not Tony Stark, but Hank Pym. And at one point when he was kind of on the outs with the Avengers, he planned to unleash this big robotic monster for them to fight, that he would then come in and save the day and get in their good graces again. Yes, he basically had syndromes planned from the Incredibles. And when his wife, Janet Van Dyne, found out about that, tried to stop him, he smacked her across the face. They were married at the time. And since then, he has always gone down in history as Hank Pym Wife Beater. He has never shaken that off. That was 1981. He's been known as that for longer than I've been alive. So for me, knowing that background, knowing that Hank Pym is at best a tainted hero in the comics, the reason Scott Lang had to come in and be Ant-Man and the title had to sort of move on to other people had less to do with Hank Pym's getting too old, and more to do with this character's too tainted. If we want to do Ant-Man, we gotta give the suit to somebody else. So knowing all that, it was interesting for me to watch him just be the villain, because I'm like, yeah, I could buy that, especially with the idea that he doesn't have Hope around to ground him. And I also think it works with Michael Douglas's performance, not just here, but in the films, because while the films haven't really had a lot of time to dig into the kind of dick that Hank Pym is and has been, we do get hints of it. We get bits of it, whether it be from characters talking about how he screwed them over at some point in his life, or just little hints of callousness from Douglas as that character, which gives you those little hints of the kind of person he is and has been without having that be the story. So between that and knowing from the comics, I found this interesting. I do, like I said though, I do wonder if it's jarring for anyone who doesn't know more of the comics background. Oh, a random thing. I actually got really thrown off. So Hope Van Dyne, his daughter, dead, and that seems to be what set him off. Here's what threw me off about that. Because when Black Widow, finds the information she's after, and she's confronting, we don't know yet, we don't see him, and she's trying to call Fury, and she gets dragged off, and she yells, "Hope!" It's all about Hope. The problem is, between her yelling and also just what it sounded like and where my brain went, is it sounded to me like she said Hulk. And I was like, the Hulk just died. What? And I thought maybe it had to do with his blood, or something else was going on. But my brain did not register her yelling Hope. It sounded like Hulk, or at least it was jumbled enough that was what my brain decided it was, given that this is the Marvel universe, and that made more sense to me. I don't know if anyone else had that problem, or if that was just something my brain made. But the final confrontation between Hank and Loki ultimately went on a little longer than it needed to, especially because I clocked what was going on about third of the way into the fight. Actually, I would say about probably about 15 seconds into the fight, and had fun with it, but then it kept going on past the point where I got it, but it also wasn't that lengthy overall, and it was fine. This one, I have a hard time deciding if this is better or about the same in a different way as the first episode. There's more going on in terms of divergence and sort of more interesting alternate takes on events versus the first episode of What If, but that episode of the What If had this triumphant vibe that I did dig, which this doesn't have so much. So it's more interesting on paper, but I kind of have more fun in some ways with the first one, and I feel like they kind of balance out a little bit. But I have a sneaking suspicion that how much I liked episode 2 is probably going to be kind of an outlier. Not to say that we may not have an episode I like that much again, but I think now between the three, I'm kind of setting episodes 1 and 3 as okay, so that's the baseline. That's about what I can expect. And if it's better than that in any given episode, great. But I shouldn't expect the kind of joy I got out of the second episode going forward. But I think that's about it. There are tons of tiny details you could pick through, but I'm not that kind of person. I don't have that kind of patience, as is evidenced by the fact that the Watcher probably showed up in the backgrounds of earlier episodes, and I didn't notice. And my brain couldn't properly clock what was being said in the episode that I just watched. So that should tell you a lot about me. But if you want to support my rambling nonsense, I got a Patreon. Hey, plugging that up front. Instead of mentioning that if you have any thoughts about this, drop something down in the comments and let's talk about it. So go ahead with that. Like, share, subscribe also help me out, but no pressure on any of it. We take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can come on back next time you need a break.